Step siblings, how do you feel about the fact that you're heavily fetishized in PRN? And in what ways has it affected your life? Some family friends of ours were step siblings as teens. They actually started dating in their late 20s. They're both really great and we're all glad to see them together, honestly. I went to their wedding. Top tier party. Amusingly enough, a few years after they got married, their parents, in their 60s, divorced. So they're not really step siblings at all anymore. Slightly related, my wife is a twin. But no matter how much twin PRN I watch, I just cannot get into her brother at all. Friends of mine from when I was in high school started dating. They were together for like a year before her dad and his mom started dating. Thankfully for them, they were both adults by that time. My friends are still together and have a house together now. Their parents broke up. It has had no effect on my life except that now I'll greet my stepbrother with "what you doing step bro" and we'll both get a good chuckle out of it. Edit. I went to school with a guy and girl who were step siblings and everyone knew they were sleeping together. It was all anyone could talk about when she came up pregnant, and it was even more awkward when the baby wasn't her stepbrother's. That moment when your stepsister cheats on you. That's rough. Every time my stepsister gives me a blowjob now it's all awkward. Thanks. P-Hub. My step-siblings are 20 years older than me and I am very grossed out now you have made me think about it. My parent adopted a dog and it tries to hump my leg if that counts. I had a co-worker that dated his stepsister. They were already dating when their parents met and then started dating. There was a standoff about which couple needed to stop dating and the parents won. They eventually got married and now he will tell people he slept with his stepsister. In a situation like this I seriously don't understand the problem for the future step-siblings to continue to date. They aren't related and didn't grow up live as siblings. All the weirdness is just made up. My stepsister, 11, is much younger than me, 17, and so when she approached me one time and said "what are you doing step bro," you can imagine my shock and how shook I felt. You can assume she's watching some YouTuber who probably did comment about these things. Or maybe did a joke about this. And maybe she did think it was a fun thing to say. My stepsister ironically says "what are you doing step bro?" to me off. Edit. She has now seen this post and is not happy with me. Also I am not commenting on whether my stepsister is hot. Show her a boner and maybe she'll stop. My step-sibling identifies the genre as a cultural warfare psyop and ignores it. Both of my step-siblings are the same sex as me and I am not gay. Also I have only ever met them twice. Maybe 3 times. They live almost 1,000 miles from me. It was almost a decade since the last time I saw either one of them. Next time I see them someone is getting ed. I am straight male and have a 20-year younger straight stepbrother. So, there is nothing. I also have a stepmom. But, no. Just no. Seriously. Even without being related by blood. She is my mom. And I am interested in her as much as in my real mom. Which is not at all. To clarify that for all the perverts. And I am interested in her as much as in my real mom. Freud wants to know your location. Edit. Thank you kind stranger for my first award here on Reddit. I always assumed that this bizarre trend started solely because actual incest might be illegal in several countries. So PRN producers had to find an excuse to don't lose the audience that's into that. Well, once I was stuck and I had to ask my step bro to help me and he wouldn't because he watched too much PRN. I know some people who were dating in high school. Then their parents started dating. Then they lived together. Awkward. That would be very awkward. I don't bang my stepsisters so can't say it's had any effect in my life. Not sibling but parent. My stepdad tried to come onto me. I ran away a year ago and never looked back. Edit. Thanks for all the kind words. The girl I lost my virginity to was someone I met because her stepbrother was my best friend at the time. About 6 months into our relationship, I'm pretty sure they ended up sleeping together. I'm a woman and all my step siblings are older men. In high school I had at least 2 classmates that I remember ask me if I ever fooled around with them or thought of them as more than brothers. Freaked me the hell out because I didn't know that this was even a fetish. I haven't had someone ask since then because I guess most adults know better. My opinion on the PRN itself is meh. It's not my thing, but I don't judge. I'd never thought about it and wish you hadn't just made me. How has it affected my life? Well, I still can't find where the water is. So there's that. A bit different than the question you asked and a little off topic, but my sister's dad married a woman and then his mom, my sister's grandma, married the women's dad while they were still married. So I get a kick out of telling people my sister's dad was at one point married to his stepsister and seeing their reactions of them saying that's weird as hell, and then I explain it to them what happened and they laugh. God, I almost got sick trying to understand whatever you just said. God bless you and good luck. Me and my stepsister go to the same school. We are constantly asked to in the hallways. One time a kid pushed her when she wouldn't do what he said. Asked me to kiss her, and I finally snapped on him. Edit. 100 upvotes. Whoa. Damn. That's an extreme level of sexual harassment and bullying. I'm so sorry. It's gross, but it has not affected my life. I had 2 older stepbrothers for a while from my dad's side. I visited my father once for a 3-week vacation. It was all relatively fine until one night when I was watching TV at midnight with one of them and he mentioned how he was slightly disappointed that I wasn't a curvy woman because he was looking forward to having a stepsister. Especially since he heard I was chubby. He had moved really close to me on the couch and tried to touch my hair. I tried to scooch away and he grabbed my arm. I kicked him and ran upstairs. I locked myself in my room and made preparations to go home. I slept for a few hours. Got up with the sun. And was driving down the highway by the time my father was awake and calling to see where I went. After that, I refused to go on any family outings with them or even do New Year's dinner with them. Do people actually give a about the titles of PRN in the age of Pornhub? I think the stepbrother sister thing is so popular only because they use hot porn stars. I also don't ever watch any of the story. Skip to the PR0N. The story is the only part I watch. My best friend was sleeping with his stepsister for 2 years. The parents found out and the sister had to go live with her mom. No. I still ask him how his sister is doing just to get a reaction. It hasn't affected my relationship with my stepsister at all. But often when I mention her in passing to people who know I'm a lesbian, I always brace myself for a comment. I lived it. My stepbrother step-cousin did some gay stuff to me when I was young. It's not awesome and gay stepbrother cousin PRN is not on in my search history. Oh boy, this is a whole can of worms I refuse to touch. Not the step-sibling in this story. I was 6 and my sister was 9. My older stepbrother was 18. Parents had no idea. I do think so at least. I once had an older brother who came in from my stepfather's side of the family. After about 3 months together he started acting weird. He would be the coolest brother when others were around. But when it was just me and my sis, things got bad. He would often stare at my sister and one time he tricked her into getting a chance of me getting on his lap, but I was too smart for that. He physically assaulted me many times and I had learned to adapt very quickly. This didn't really hit me at the time. But me and my sister liked anime, so maybe he saw Lawless and thought he could use us. I will never understand this fetish with children. Ugh. That's horribly disgusting. I hope you're doing well now. I'll never understand loli type stuff either. I was sexually abused by my stepbrother, so it's always been a huge turn off when I see it. Not entirely an answer, but finally a place I can tell the sighing story. I have an older stepbrother who moved in with my dad when I was 4/he was 6. I've never lived with dad. His mum unironically said once that him and I could date, be a cute couple because I'm a straight-laced girl and he's a bit of a troublemaker and arrogant. I've grown up with him carrying the title of brother and he is no less of a brother to me than the other child my dad helped create. So I nearly puked. I told him. We died laughing about it. That's all. Makes logging our session that much better. I don't know if it was a fetish back then, but I was one of those cases where I got molested sexually assaulted by my stepbrother. Honestly, seeing PRN with titles like that are enough to turn me off at times. But it's also been more than a decade and I'm better at handling the trauma now as opposed to when I was younger. Personally, I hate it. I'm not sure if that's what prompted what has happened to me. But even so, I just find it extremely disgusting as it's what caused me years of depression to the point where I thought about ending my own life when I was cornered into outing the truth to my parents. Right now I'm still living with my stepbro. I'm still having mixed feelings about it, but he has a girlfriend, so I guess that's something. There have actually been a few others with replies like this. That sounds like such a terrible thing to happen. And I couldn't even imagine. Waiting for my stepsister to call me anytime. I mean, our parents aren't together anymore, so my stepbrother told me it wouldn't be gross if we had sex. Because if it feels good, it feels good. I got Ed. Told him he was being disgusting. And asked him to stay away from me. And later I had to explain to my parents why I wanted him to stay away from me. So, that was fun. Edit. I just want to clarify. To me this was an awkward thing that happened some time ago. That could have been affected by a normalization of step-sibling PRN. And not a traumatizing experience that's haunting me. The only reason I thought about it now is because I read the question of this thread. He was young and drunk when it happened. It was awkward for a while. But he respected my boundaries and we have a platonic sibling relationship and friendship now that I wouldn't want to be without. Yes, friends at school always talk about it. This thread is cursed. Makes me nostalgic for when I had a stepsister. Fun times. : What happened? Did one of you die? It's creepy. It just seems like an odd fetish to become so popular. But I guess when you think about it, there are a lot of divorces, so stepchildren are quite common. My stepsister was a few months younger than I. We were only ever around each other on weekends or summer breaks and didn't get along very well. I can only recall one time when I was about 14 when a thought of trying to kiss her came into my head. It made me feel gross, weird and all sorts of confused as I was a 14-year-old boy. As I said before, we weren't close and I grew apart from that side of the family. She fell off the rails with drugs and babies from multiple daddies. I imagine I would probably get a lot more hazing from friends if I were the 14-year-old boy now with the current flood of step PRN. This whole step-sibling PRN seems a bit too close to dipping a toe into full-blown incest. Coming next. If you show me a hot girl and a hung dude about to do it, hey, I'm in. As soon as you say and they're step-siblings, I'm out. I hate it. She turns to me and says, "What are you doing, stepbro?" Causing me to pull out every time. My stepsisters aren't hot in my opinion, so it's whatever. Technically, there is nothing wrong with it. It may seem strange if you grew up together from a young age, but they are biologically unrelated. I read about 20 comments before realizing that I have step-siblings. My mum got remarried recently when I was in my 30s and I had never thought about it. I guess step-sibling PRN just got even better. Oh no. What have I woken? We're both boys and live in our own separate places, but every time we meet he says, "What are you doing, step-bro?" My step-siblings were molested by their father and became sexually involved with each other around the ages of 7 and 5. It continued until they were at least in their early teens. Oh my goodness. That's a terrifying situation. It disgusted us so much we had to stop banging.